Hello.
Sunita madam, we will begin.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody who have joined us in this virtual platform. In the forum of academics, when one is spoiled by choices, making the right choice is very important. Our choices makes us who we are. Choosing the right career, choosing the right university can make or break your career. A student may not be privy to all information. There are tens and thousands of universities offering multiple courses, and sometimes they all seem similar. So, how to make the correct choice? How do we know we have made the correct choice? This is where a career counselor comes in. Today, we are fortunate to have with us one of the leading education consultants of India, Madam Sunita Bose. She is the owner of Let's Talk. She has been counseling for 2 decades now, helping students meet their academic and career choices through higher education in universities. Welcome, Madam Sunita Bose, to this virtual platform of DAV Public School Poker Report.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Mayuk.
We are honored to have with us our principal, a distinguished academician and administrator of India, Dr. Sujata. With her vision and mentoring, the school and organization continues to excel in academics and co-curricular alike. It's my privilege to call Honorable Principal of DAV Public School Poker Report and Assistant Regional Officer, DAV Institution Zone 1, Dr. Sujata, to give the keynote address. Madam, please.
Thank you, Mayuk. And a warm welcome on behalf of Team DAV Poker Report to Madam Sunita Bose,
Thank you.
the most renowned education consultant. And I'm grateful to Mayuk for taking up this topic and then asking Madam Sunita to interact with our dear students. And the topic chosen is very, very relevant. It's very difficult for the students to decide on which career path they would take up after 10+2. Contemplating academic choices and alternatives. Rightly, Mayuk, you have said the country is flooded with innumerous opportunities, in numerous skills, in numerous career opportunities. It's difficult on the part of the children to decide. Further, there are a number of universities which offer so many benefits, scholarships to our students, which many of our students are ignorant about it. Basically, our students are aware of an engineer or a doctor or an IITN. Beyond that, they don't want to see what are the other opportunities which is thrown at them. And then finally, when they, without taking any choices, without taking any help from anybody, when they finally land up in an engineering or a medical college, they understand that they are not meant for that job. And then a lot of frustration, a lot of depression crops in, and then the career is spoiled. So taking a right decision at the right moment will help you to build up your career, dear students, those all who have joined in the Zoom and the YouTube link. You may think that what is the biggest thing of deciding a career? You must have decided when you were reading in class 8th or 9th, I want to become a doctor or I want to become an engineer or join the prestigious IIT League. But that's not all, my dear students. Beyond that, many things are there which might interest you. And that might be your skill, that might be your aptitude also. Most of us, we take the liberal arts as a very silly thing. That's not the job for us. That's not the career for us, we think. It is only for those, the weak students or the average students. But it's not so. Nowadays, the world is now, if you see, the opportunities are more for the liberal arts. Take, for example, painting, the music, or the dance. Everywhere you see a lot of opportunities it is given to all these liberal arts. And so also to sports. Now CBSE has taken sports as one of the main subjects. Earlier, it used to be a co-curricular activities, which much importance was not given. Now they are talking about integrating the sports, dance, music, art, everything into the mainstream. So now you can understand the importance of these subjects. I will not take much of your time because I don't have much expertise in this understanding the career counseling like many of you. But today we are fortunate to have Madam Bose with us, who is going to take us to the various avenues, the various opportunities which has with us. So over to you, ma'am. I hope you will have a wonderful session and a lot of queries my students will be asking you, and hope you will have enough of time for those queries. Once again, on behalf of my entire team, I welcome you to this very informative and interactive session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for inviting us. I have one team member from my side, Sudakshana, who's joined us too, because in case my connection goes away or when we speak about Indian, specifically universities, I think Sudakshana would be able to help us. So she has also joined us. So we are a team of 2 today from Let's Talk who have joined you. Now, the thing is that it's lovely, and thank you so much for calling me. Welcome all the students. And we are here to talk to you about various careers. And as Ma'am Sujata was just saying that, you know, we all think of just engineering, medicine, and maybe sciences, but we don't look beyond. And the moment a student has taken humanities or subject beyond that, we just think that, oh, that student is not good in studies. No. Actually, we can go beyond studies. That is what I want to tell you guys, that there is something beyond studies and there is a lot more that we can do for all of you. Now, I would want Mayuk to give me a bit of an idea of what is it that these children would want to know, and a little bit of questions, because then I'll know the path that I need to take. Because I can speak about various subjects, but then what is the path I should take with you guys? Because they have been asking you questions. What have the questions been about? What is it that they want to know from us? Because I would like to speak about, you know, every area of subjects, because there is lots. You know, as ma'am was saying about sports, do you know sports management is such a big subject now, with sports becoming such a big area? So we have subjects on sports management, sports physiotherapy. So I would want to know, what is it that these students are looking at? And I'm not going to speak about IITs, because if I go to see, only 1% of the students get in there. And it's a lot of tug of war to get there. If we look at civil services, I have 30, 40 students who come and they say, ma'am, we are keeping civil services as an option. And from 30, 40, probably only one gets into it. So we have to think about it, that those are, if you keep those as an option, if you keep medicine, civil services, IITs as an option, please remember that you have to keep a backup option, because that cannot be your main option. We can try, but is it possible? Does everyone get through? And it's not necessary that you're a bad student, that's why you didn't get through. It's just that it did not work out. Okay. So, yes, if I can have a few questions.
Well, the platform is open for the students to barge in. Please feel free to ask Madam Bose any question that is running in your mind.
Anything, because let us give a flow to the whole thing. Otherwise, I can speak. That's not an issue. But let's give a bit of a flow to the whole thing. Yes, Sherry?
Good afternoon, ma'am, and thank you for being here. My parents have always wanted me to go for medical. However, I have had some pretty different dreams. I've always wanted to explore and go out there and do something. I am an author and I have paramount interest in literature. On the other hand, I have always had a lot of interest in being a pilot. I love traveling, and that has been my interest since a very long time. So these are the two choices I have right now, but I'm confused. I'd like to go out there and do something like internationally. So, could you please suggest any good international university that I could go for after 12th, or any scholarships that I could apply for?
Okay. So, let's take your question one by one. So, Dakshina, do you want to come in sometime? Okay, let her get back. Okay. Now, if I look at author, okay. Now, in case of author, you can always be an author while doing so, okay? Because you don't study to be an author, you improve on your writing skills, you improve on your observation skills. And and another thing is, wanting to be an author always doesn't mean that the success will come. So that you keep it as a part of your journey in trying to do. So you can keep writing small incidents, whatever you see, because that's the way you improve, right?
Yes.
Your pilot bit. Sorry, Sudakshina, yes? I thought, Sudakshina, you were coming in or what? Okay. Now, the other is the pilot bit, okay? Now, if we are looking at pilot, it is proper studies, okay? First is, if you think of doing a pilot degree, it is almost going to be about 25-30 lakhs, including your living expenses. Okay. So what either you do a diploma of pilot training, which is an year and a half, where you need to do 30 hours of training, and then you get the first initial, and then you keep increasing, and ultimately you become a proper pilot. So you various stages. Now, what I would suggest is, if you're really looking at pilot training, it's better that you start in India. You better that you start the pilot training in India and then think of going abroad to see whether it really suits you. But yes, definitely you need to have a science degree so that you at least have physics and math, because that is something that you need to have. In case you don't have that, then separately you have to do a bit of a studying on that subject and then join the course, because you need to sit for a short test. Okay, so that is how you go in for your pilot training. But yes, you can look at a diploma. Are you a science student?
Yes.
Obviously, since your parents wanted you to do medicine. See, medicine, if your parents want to do, they need to be very sure they need to know that getting into medicine is not easy. Okay, you have to sit for your NEET, you have to meet the requirements, then there is a system called management quota. But if that is something that doesn't interest you, then it does not make sense. And if you are thinking of medicine, all the students, please keep a second option for yourself, because you don't get into medicine so easily. We have been working with Bhubaneswar schools now for almost 13-14 years. Let me tell you, if there are 20 or 30 students who have applied for medical, how many get in? 1 or 2? Because it's not easy to get into medicine. And the number of medical seats compared to the number of students who apply are very small. I was hearing that there are almost schools coming up, but we have to see how they are coming up. They might come up with schools, but we don't have the faculty to teach. So that is another issue that we are facing. Okay. But as I told you, you can either look at pilot training as a diploma where you do your 1 year or 1.5 year pilot training, or you do a degree in aeronautical engineering where in some universities you have pilot training also along with it. So that depends on what is it that we are looking at, but you have to look at your finances. If you're financially you are stable to go overseas, please do that. If not, then I would suggest do it in India, do a good pilot training. I mean, our pilot training schools are pretty good over here. Choose the best out of those and try and get be a better option. Or go into aeronautical engineering, because then what happens is have excellent knowledge aeronautical as an aeronautical engineer, and then you do your pilot along with it. It's an excellent combination. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
So yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Well, been able to answer your question, but anyway, Mayuk is there to give you my reference in case you need anything. Okay, thank you. Yes, Mayuk.
Yes. Any more questions we have for Madam Bose? Please raise your hands. Pratiksha, go ahead.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So, ma'am, I had a confusion recently. So, the thing is that I aim to become a doctor, but I like writing. So, the thing is, being a doctor would not be an easy task. It's not a 9 to 5 job. You have to be available to your patients all the time. So, the thing is, even my parents support me writing. So, the thing is that how do I manage writing along with that job, with the kind of job that always demands my dedication?
Okay. So you have to give yourself. The reason is that is definitely a very. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
There is a slight glitch, but that is okay.
Okay. Now, being a medical student and being a doctor is definitely not an easy task, and it's definitely not something that gives you much time. But then doctors are doing it. We have doctors who are into music. We have doctors who are into writing. So that is your time management that you would have to somehow take out. Days you would be busy, there would be days you can't do. Let me tell you, I had 1 or 2 doctor friends who used to write very well. So what they used to do is when they felt that they did not have time to work, nowadays you have mobiles in which you can save, but they used to actually carry dictaphones with them. And they used to, whatever the thought, they used to just say it in the dictaphone and save it and then put it. There was one doctor I knew who was an excellent poet also. She used to constantly make poems. So that is how she used to manage. Nowadays, we have our mobiles. We can just do a recording, but we didn't have mobiles way back then. So they used to use dictaphones. So yes, you can think of it. But yes, it's definitely going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy to do medicine and this. That much I can tell you. But I don't have a solution for it, how you should do it. It's your time management on how you would do it. But it's not going to be easy.
Ma'am.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Madam Bose, I have a follow-up question in regards to what Pratiksha just asked. I mean, there are universities which provide core subject integration with liberal arts. Yes. I was surprised to find out that there are universities which integrate mathematics with dramatics. Now, as a student, I was very good in drama, but I wasn't that good in mathematics. So if a student have dynamic competencies, for example, mathematics, music, I have Pratiksha who is equally good in mathematics. So the question is, what different universities you may suggest for students, universities that provide these kind of integrated learning platforms?
Okay, US universities, you will always find this integrated learning platform. Because US universities, your first 2 years undergraduate are basically liberal arts, where you study everything. So even if you are a humanities student, you have to study a biology, you have to do math, you have to take up subjects of your interest. So it could be music, it could be psychology, it could be anything, it could be a sport. So it is the US system is formed like that and major in two different subjects also. Okay, you have never heard of music and law. There's a university in UK called Goldsmith, which actually integrates music and law. So what I'm trying to say, to get these kind of courses is not a big thing. In India, we might not find it, but there might be universities in India providing such courses. I'm somehow not getting Sudakshina's, but at the end of the thing, we will ask her to speak because she might be knowing of universities which integrate courses. But overseas, we definitely have such universities and students can integrate. The only thing when we look at overseas is obviously the financial aspect we have to see. So yes, when we are speaking to students individually, or if they put it across to you, and then if you feel that financially there are certain students who can manage, definitely there are very good options available. In case of state universities in US, we do try in certain universities to try and see what are the kind of scholarships we can get, but it's not much because US universities are quite expensive. So you have to see how we can manage and whether financially it is possible. But in India, we will have to see which are the universities which are giving us these options, of majoring into something to diametrically opposite courses. That we will have to check. Yes, they are available. Mathematics and dramatics is such a common thing, like in universities overseas, because it just gives you the option of managing both. So that is always there. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I believe Aparna has a question. Aparna, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, this is
Sorry, Aparna.
Ma'am, actually,
yeah. Just a second.
Ma'am, actually,
say.
Okay, ma'am. Actually, I have interest in medical science and also in research. I want to do something in overseas after my 12th. Are there any scholarship for overseas in overseas to study in universities?
Wait, there are scholarships, but they are very, very few. So probably if your fee is say 20,000 or 20 lakhs rather, you might get a scholarship of a 5 or a 6 lakhs, but not more than that. But if you're looking at medicine overseas is very expensive. Just the course fee is 50 lakhs a year. So I would suggest medical students not to look at medicine overseas because it is extremely expensive. Okay, so don't look at medicine overseas, and there are no scholarships. Secondly, getting into medicine is very difficult all over the world until and unless you're looking at Russia, China, where it is not a difficult task. Okay, but otherwise, getting into medicine is very difficult. In fact, China, Russia, and all this, even the courses are very, very reasonable. So you would finish the entire medicine probably in 10 or 12 lakhs. But the courses are not really recognized by the Medical Council of India, neither are they recognized by the NHS in UK and the medical bodies in US. So what I would suggest is, if you want to study medicine, please look at India. But again, as I want to tell you, it is not so easy to get into medicine. So you have to keep a second option open. I would suggest that students look at biological sciences, look at pharmacology, look at physiotherapy, look at pharmacy, because these are actually good courses, and you don't know the way the demand for these courses have gone up. Even if you look at courses like biological sciences, the research areas, there's a lot of need of people with research background. So look at that. Oncology is another big subject. Now, study of viruses is becoming a very big thing. The other day, we did a course on environmental chemistry because we are looking at how, we can handle our environment. Because why environmental chemistry is because the industries are polluting the environment so much. So, if we have a steel factory, the water which is going in is spoiling the oceans, getting into the land, uh, spoiling the balance. So basically, there is a whole lot of areas that we are looking into. So that is again another big area which is coming up as environmental chemistry. You don't know, the requirement of environmentalists has become so high, because slowly and slowly now the companies will have to start employing people with proper environmental sustainable degrees, so that the companies are able to see how the carbon footprints can be controlled. So there's a lot of work going on in that area. So I would suggest that you look at those various areas and look at subjects beyond medicine. There is a lot going on. Medicine as your first option, you have to. But in case you don't get in, don't be disappointed. There are a lot of students who, after having not got into medicine, were happy because they realized that's how they thought of a second option. Okay? So that is something that you should look into. Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Aparna. Lakshita has asked a question. Unfortunately, her mic is not functioning, so I will read her question to you. She says, "Good afternoon, Sunita madam. This is Lakshita Das. My parents always wanted me to pursue engineering, but after coming to 11th and going in through a lot of career options, I started showing interest in law studies. Yet, I am confused. My parents told me to first pursue engineering, and after that, if I won't be able to crack JEE, I will study for law. What would you suggest?"
I would suggest that if you have very adamant parents, then listen to them. And in case you take an extra year, it does not make a difference. We always call it a gap year. And it is a good process of learning, because you'll be studying for your JEE, then you will start studying about your law. So you won't be wasting time. You would be just adding more education, you would be adding more knowledge. But if your parents are not very adamant, then pursue law. It's a very good to be in. Okay. Maritime law is one law which is really going places. Company law is another one. And environmental laws are becoming very strong, and people who study environmental law study. And in fact, am I audible? Because my connection is a bit unstable.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So there are various areas, but obviously when you start studying your law, your first 3 years are again liberal arts kind of subjects, because you study everything and then you decide on your area of specialization. Go ahead. Law is a good subject. And engineering, if you're not interested, anyway, you won't perform well, so try and explain it to your parents. And if you ever need, we are always there to help, because our main work is to explain to the parents, because they haven't had that kind of exposure, so they do not understand what all is available. See, after 12 years or 13 years of working in Bhubaneswar, for the past 4 years, we have started sending students for music and all, because it took us some time to change the outlook of the parents. So probably these parents were in touch with us from the time the child was in class 8 or 9. And, showing them that the child is interested in music, he is doing well, telling the person that why don't you put up a few Instagram posts to see the kind of views you are getting, liking it or not, and then telling the parents, look, your child is actually good, so why don't you give it a shot? So, it's all a journey, and it's not fault of your parents. It's just that the exposure has not been there. So try and speak to them. If it doesn't work out, then we are there. Mayuk, I think, has Mayuk, I would be able, I think. So yes, let us look at that. That is a good option. But law is definitely a very good option that you can look at. Another thing, since you are a science student, instead of core, mechanical and all this engineering, if you can look at computers, if you could look at data sciences and artificial intelligence, let me tell you, those are the areas now. And it is like the maximum number of people all over the world who are helping companies in this sector the students are from India. This industry has grown by 145%, 200% in the last 2 years. So look at that option. It is a good option also. Okay. Yes.
All right. I hope that answer your questions. Do we have any other question for Madam? Please raise your hand. Bipasha has asked a question, so I will just follow it up. She says that if she is not able to crack medical, or she's not able to join any IITs, what are the other high-paying jobs that would enable her to travel to foreign countries? That's an interesting question.
Computer science, computer engineering, data analytics, data sciences, intelligence, business analytics. Look at these areas. We are really short of people in this area. So computing and I saw some question from Sahu, I think, about computer science. These are the courses you should look at. And also the other courses which have become very, very famous is ethical hacking. And forgetting, there's one more course. These are the courses which are really in demand. So look at data sciences, data analytics, artificial intelligence. I'm telling you, these are the courses that you should look at. In fact, you don't know what has happened is the students who had probably studied sociology, law, political science, and all these subjects, we have students going in for masters. At master, they are going for conversion courses in data analytics and artificial intelligence and data sciences. So universities actually have these courses for people who did not study these courses earlier, looking at a change in profession. We have these courses for these students. And the university starts these courses even before they get into the country because they don't have mathematics maybe. So they start them with maths earlier on, and then they continue with these courses. But this is for postgraduate. So at an undergraduate level, I would definitely tell students, look at these areas. I'm not asking everyone to go for this, but people who are into technical areas, try and see if you could go in for these areas in STEM subjects. They are really, really an important thing. Another thing that we really need to study now is solar energy. That is one big upcoming thing. Then EV, electrical vehicles. Okay. The other day we were reading that Tesla has come up with 7 billion EV cars, but the demand is 200 billion. So, the ad was 10 cars and in between them one black car, which is a. So we are still so short. Okay. Now we are talking about carbon footprint. If we are talking about carbon footprint, that means we have to change ourselves totally to come into the EV sector. So look at all those areas. Look at the newer areas. Don't get stuck with the same old things. Things are really changing. So we have to look at different areas. That is why we counselors come into the scene, because people just think if you read a bit, it helps. No, it is all about university, industry telling us the demand. Because being in the industry now for almost 25 years, what people from the industry, people from the universities, people from various aspects, they inform us about what is happening in the market, what is the requirement. What we call is, everything has been disrupted. The way we say that there have been total disruption in our thoughts. Solar energy is what we need now. And Gujarat government, what they have started, because they have, what they have done is they have made people put up solar panels on the terrace. So whatever energy comes from those solar panels goes into the government grid. And the government charges the person who's using the normal power, they charge them less, because on solar, they are unable to run ACs and certain things. So what people are doing, making solar grids on their terrace, which is joining the grid of the power grid of the government, and from their bill, whatever solar is being provided by their grid is being given to them as a discount. So just see how they are promoting solar energy. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Renewable energy has become a big thing. So we have to look at these various aspects and see how we can, what are the kind of subjects we should go in for. Sports management for humanities student, music, dance. Look at those areas, because dance is not today now, it's not about only what you do in Hollywood or Bollywood and all that. It's also about teaching people to be healthy. Music therapy is a big thing. So, it is a total different way of making and keeping your interests alive and doing a career and thinking of a career. Okay. So there's a lot that is available. We are not stuck in that age old time 20 years back when we were just stuck to certain things. Oceanology, oceanography is a subject a lot in demand. Another thing, disaster management, peace studies. Look at these areas. So many disasters happening. We don't even have trained people to handle disasters. So it's not about standing over there and handling disasters, but when a disaster strikes, how do you think and put things in place is a big subject on its own. So you have to look at those areas. Yeah.
All right.
I hope I've
Bipasha
spoken
Raj.
too much.
Oh yes, no, it was indeed well comprehensive. So it was nice. Bipasha Raj, over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Good afternoon, Sunita ma'am. Bipasha here.
Yeah,
Ma'am, I have a
Bipasha.
small query that whenever, like, especially when a student is from a science background, we are like given a lot many options to pursue after 12th grade. But then, ma'am, when we are doing the higher studies, especially when we are in the 11th and 12th grade, we tend to discover a lot many interests, like a fields, the fields where we find ourselves strong in, for example music or communication skills. And when
Absolutely.
this tends to have a confusion, we tend to have a conversation with our parents or with the relatives, and they give a very sudden reaction that having a science background with PCMB, how can you turn out your interest towards communication or music? This is not how like nowadays society works. So this kind of pressurizes the mind, and we tend to take up decisions exactly the way they say. So, ma'am, how to deal with these kind of situations?
Your parents need to go through sessions, and we have done these sessions in schools. We had to get people from the industry, and we did small shoots of those people, and we had to put it up in, do it in schools. Plus, it was a one-to-one interaction. I remember Sai International School calling the parents instead of the students, so that the students were not there, and the parents could speak to us about these things. And the children had written for them that I want to shift from here to here. We want you to ask ma'am these questions and satisfy yourself. Okay. But the fact that you have taken science subjects in 11 and 12 is good, because then what happens is it gives you more options. Okay. Because the whole of 11 and 12, the moment you come into 11, you tend to shift a lot. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do that. So that whole 11 and 12 you keep your other options in mind, your music, your writing, your sports, everything. And take a call, say maybe at the end of class 11 or mid of class 12. Okay. When you're applying to university, see, when you're applying to India, you anyway apply after class 12 or, almost at the end of class 12. But when you're applying overseas, especially US and all, we don't have to bother also, no, because anyway, it's a liberal arts subject. Anyway, you do liberal arts, so you're not pressurized about that. Your essays go that way. Your application goes, say, as a student who wants to do mechanical engineering, but you have an option to change after 2 years, no? So anyway, in case of overseas, you don't have to bother. Yes, if you're looking at UK, they are very strict. But if you look at US and all, they allow you to shift your subject. Okay. So that is not an issue. But to explain to your parents, we will have to come in, because remember, every time when you want to talk, your parents will not listen. It is bound to happen because they will feel you don't know. So they will have to speak to a professional who can explain it to them that the options beyond engineering or beyond the STEM subjects are much, much higher, which they are not aware of. And anyway, if you don't get into one of the very good engineering schools, for the first and the second set of schools, anyway, they don't teach you much. So when you go, if you ever read an article on the gap between what students study at engineering school and what the industry is looking at, the gap is huge. I have friends who are very senior people in Deloitte and Dell and, Tata's. The main thing that they tell us is when a student comes from one of these regional engineering schools, they actually don't know anything. And that's why there is a lot of rejection. So, there is a lot that you have to study on your own. Students who decide to study on their own go out of the way and they tend to do very well. But otherwise, because of the lack of good labs and all, sometimes our students tend to suffer. So your parents have to understand this and they need to speak to a professional. So that is something that you cannot change. It's a mindset which cannot change because they haven't had that exposure. And I don't think you can blame them. It's just that, it's just not happened. So that's something we need to look into. We need to speak to your parents.
Sanstita, go ahead.
Yes?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, I'm in grade 11th and I have taken bio and physical education as my subjects. I was thinking of going for medical, but I'm not sure about it. So, what else options do I have with my current subjects?
You said bio and physical education, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Bio and physical education. Actually, why don't you study physiology and all those subjects? Because if it's physical education and you actually seriously go into that, okay, physical education will include the sports bit also, because that is how you're training, or physiotherapy. Those are very good options. Do you know physiotherapist earns more than a... It's become such an overseas. There is more demand for physiotherapists than for doctors. So, we are going wrong somewhere. There is a lot of demand for these subjects. So look at that area. Okay, I think we are going wrong somewhere and you guys are just not getting it, because it's not about being a doctor. It's a good physiotherapist, a good sports specialist. They are really, really in demand. Do you know the kind of hunting our teams have to do to get the right physiotherapist? Every sports team is struggling to get a good physiotherapist, sports therapist. So you need it. Even a psychologist. It is, and mental health has become a very big issue now. And earlier people used to hide it. Today people are talking about it. So that is one big thing. And by the time you people study and come out, everyone will be talking about mental health. Because we are, today the children in the house are so stressed because of their studies, because they want to balance so much. Parents are so stressed because they always are comparing their children with the neighbor's child or their class students. So there is a constant tug and there's loads and loads of need. In fact, schools now need to start keeping trained psychologists, because there are too many issues coming up in schools also. So we really need to look into that. And, I've been talking to schools also that you have to start now keeping a counselor separately and a psychologist separately in school, because that is very important. So you have a whole range of areas, and everyone don't think of medicine. You won't, first is it's not so easy to get through. Then it's so expensive. Then again, if you don't get through, you go through a management quota, which is subscribed by the government. But the thing is, it is so much more. You pay almost double or triple your fees. So just think of what is it that you are looking at. But convincing your parents, we will have to do it, because it will take some time for parents to understand, or they'll make you sit for the exam. And when you don't do well, they won't have a choice. Yeah.
All right. We have Ashutosh Baral, who is confused to mediate between psychology and English literature. These two subjects are his core competency. So what would you suggest to Ashutosh?
Psychology. Psychology, because I'll tell you, is concerned, English literature will be difficult. Keep that passion alive. You understand, you keep that passion alive, definitely, but go in for psychology because it will train you more towards a career. Not that English literature will not, but the demand as a subject, the demand as a profession, you keep your thing alive of studying English literature, but psychology is something you should go for. If it was overseas, I would have said that, or if it was US, I would have said, because you could have studied both the subjects till your second year of college. But in India, you don't have that option. Please go ahead with psychology and keep your passion for literature alive. You can always do it as studying. Bas exam hi to nahi dena hai. The rest you can study. Yeah. Okay.
There is another question on graphic designing and the opportunities India has.
Okay, that is something I will need. And let me first end this because I don't know whether Sudakshana is online. Can you see her because Sudakshana would be very good at suggesting the universities. If she's there, then I don't think so.
I don't think so. So we can entertain that question.
Just fine.
Yeah. We also have another question coming from Swarnavo.
Okay. In that case, sorry. That first question, which you were saying, is graphic design. I think this one is there. Shrishti is there. And there is Flame, I think, has the course. Okay.
Flame
graphic
University,
design
Pune.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think they have very good courses. But Mayuk, you should come back to me on this. I'll give you a few courses and universities. But an excellent course to be in, because we are going a lot towards animation, towards towards what do you say, gaming, graphic design. In fact, one of my students is doing now in UK. He's a student from Bhubaneswar, doing very well for himself. So I would suggest that keep that. If you are good at it, don't let it go. It's a good option we are looking at, because it automatically also improves your computer knowledge, because there's a lot you do on computers and the various softwares. So don't let that go. It's a very good option to have. Lots of demand for students with graphic design. Yes, well,
right. Swarnavo, over to you.
Thank you, sir. An effulgent afternoon, ma'am. I am a NEET aspirant, and of course, obvious hassle for the examination. I shall take the examination in the year 2023, and suppose I vault through it, securing a decent score, but that score does not take me to a prestigious AIMS, but to a hallowed government college. Now, in this quandary, what should be my approach? Should I take a year drop and try for the AIMS the next year, or end up ensconcing myself in that government college? Because it has been a gloom to know that we just have a handful of AIMS in the country. On the other hand, there are a good number of IITs and NITs. So, especially in the field of medicine, like students end up getting morose over this condition. So what should be my approach in this? Miss, I have a two.
Wait. I'm a bit confused with your question. First is, you want to look at? NEET. That's you want to look at NEET, you said, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you don't get through NEET the first time, you will have to take a drop and go for a second NEET. Whichever college you go to, you have to pass in NEET. Without passing in NEET, anyway, you can't get anywhere. Okay. And it's not just the pass marks, because you have to go a bit higher. And then probably if you go a bit higher and you are not getting in the normal way, then every university has I think 4 or 5 seats or 10 seats in management quota, which you have to get. Because that is something that the universities promote. It's the universities which promote. So what I would suggest is that how can I reply the question whether you should do it now or do it later? From my experience, students have always waited, have tried for the second year. If they have through, they have gone for biological sciences or something like that. But let me tell you, we should be very well aware that it is not so easy to get through medical courses. We have to know that. And when you are giving your mocks only, you will know where you stand. I had a student, in fact, she's my neighbor. When she came to me, I told her, from what I'm seeing with your mocks, I know you won't get through. But she still sat, studied, wanted to give the exam, and she was nowhere near the qualifying mark also. Now, she just let it be. She let 1 year pass by. I don't mind if students let go 1 year and we call it a gap year. Both my children did it. Both my children did a gap year because they wanted to be very sure of what they want. And they both went into something that no one can think of. My daughter went for dance and my son went for hotel management. So what I'm trying to say is that it's something that you have to realize whether you are fit for it or not fit for it, whether you'll get through it or not. From your present results, from your present, we had a student who was going for medicine. So Dakshina is not here. Unfortunately, she could have told you how that student, even before she went for medicine, knew so much about medicine, the medications, the kind of operation, the kind of diseases. It was amazing. And someone was asking me about how to pursue along with medicine. She was pursuing music and dance both along with medicine. So what I'm trying to say is you will know whether you're fit for it or not. So you have to decide. And your parents would also know, but they will be pushing you. So think about it. In so many years that I have been, looking at your mark sheet, speaking to your teachers, we can make out whether you are. So first you decide whether you think you will pass the NEET. Do you think your mock exams are giving you the result? Otherwise, don't waste your time. As simple as that. So this is what my suggestion would be. And I'm being very, I'm being very straight because I don't want you guys to go wrong. So I'm being really very straight. Okay.
Swarnava, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, sir. Ma'am, actually, means along with this, I wanted to know, my first attempt gets me.
Just hold on for a moment. Yes, continue.
Yes, sorry.
Yes, Swarnava, continue.
Ma'am, along with this, I would like to say that suppose my first attempt gets me to a prestigious government college, but not to an AIMS. So in this, what should be my approach? Should I end up going in that government college or take a year drop and then try?
No. Go ahead with the government college. Who's told you that AIMS would give you the best results? No.
And that was the question, actually. Huh?
Go ahead with the government college. Actually, you complicated your question so much that I think I had a problem. So please go ahead with the government college. You don't have to look at an AIMS. No. And in fact, my students from D.Y. Patel and Krishna Karad have performed very well. They are few of the top doctors now in the country.
Ma'am, one more. I have been an ardent lover of writing, but as I moved on to class 11, means I hardly get a good deal of time indulging myself in that spree and carrying it on, and therefore I feel that at this present scenario, means I have deteriorated myself in this. So what according to you should be, suppose how can I invest my time in this, keeping both the preparations for the NEET as well as my passion balanced equally?
It does not happen that way, because if you are doing your school studies and you are studying NEET, it will be very difficult for you to keep everything alive. At some point, there are different stages in life. And over here, you have to say, I'm keeping this on a back burner for now, and I'll come back to it. Yes, once in a while, if a good thought comes into your mind and a beautiful sentence has come to your mind, to keep it, just take your phone and record it. Okay. But let me tell you, you can't do so many things at a time. Don't stress over it. We all do that because we have to give up a few things and carry on a few things. And as I told you, that time management is the main. Some of us are good at it, some of us are not good at it. And secondly, some of us learn very fast. Some of us take a longer time to learn. When I read something, I have to read it 4 or 5 times to understand. I think because of age or, not so much to do. But at the same time, when I look at my girls, they read it twice and they know what is there. So what I'm trying to say is I probably have too many things in my head, but they have lesser things. So what happens is it's all about how clogged your head is. So give yourself time. Just see if you get the time, fine. If you don't get, fine. If you get the time once in a week, tell yourself, okay, every alternate day, I'll give myself 1 hour to just be with my thoughts. And those thoughts, I'm just going to I'll speak about it and put it in my voice note. You have to work it out that way. But yes, don't let your writing wither away totally. Let it be with you. It's an art. Everyone does not have that art. So don't let it go away. Yeah, but how you'll manage is up to you. Manage it. Okay?
Well, we are past time, but we will take a couple of more questions. There is one question from Sheetal Tripathi. She has taken PCM. She has opted for the PCM stream, and she is asking if she is unable to crack the JEE, she is interested in architecture, interior designing, and fashion. So what alternatives and profiling would you suggest for her?
If it's architecture, stick with maths and physics. If it's fashion designing, then you should be good in your sketching. If you're not good at that, then I think you will definitely have a bit of an issue, because that's a very important part of fashion designing, or at least learn a bit. But another thing is, fashion designing is something that you have to understand. It requires a total different mindset. Okay. So whether you are good enough for that, your the kind of sense of clothes, the kind of, and the kind of people you would have to interact with, whether you would be able to manage. But yes, if you feel, definitely there's an institute which is totally into this, and you will see them doing events all over the world. There is a friend of mine, you can speak to him. They are good at it. And in fact, they've just opened a school in Dubai. They have opened a school in Mumbai. I remember we were long time back. We started as a small thing. Rather, he started and I was just there helping him a bit once in a while. So you can look at that, because he's doing a good job, and you'll find him all over the world with all the top notches of fashion. But remember one thing, it's a very different. So whether you're okay with it. If you're looking at architecture, yes, all over the world today, we are talking about sustainable architecture, and we are talking about, environmental architecture. Again, on the kind of materials you use, that they do not spoil the earth, and and that's a very big subject now all over the world. Okay. So if I look at my architecture students, whenever they have started studying architecture, they have slowly, they all have gone towards sustainable architecture and environment-friendly architecture and things like that. So that is one area you can look at. So you will have to then decide what is it that you want, because I really don't know, where you would be more comfortable. Okay. And your concept of design. If you feel your concept of design is good, you have good drawing skills, then yes. Remember one thing, portfolio is a very important part of any of these subjects. I mean, if I show you portfolios, you would be surprised the level of portfolios that we have. So that is the kind of work you need. And otherwise, you have to slowly develop yourself in that whole area, because those are the main requirements, whether it is portfolio for fashion or architecture. Another thing is, yes, in India, you do not have something called pathway program, but we have these kind of programs overseas where students do pathways. That means if you are not aware of what should be there in architecture, and if you are not good enough with your portfolio, not good enough with your thinking of how to go about fashion or how to go about architecture, basically these pathway programs help you in getting that. And in case you are really serious about it and want to study in India, then take a gap year and learn a bit about sketching. If it's architecture, then you have to go into understanding, observing your surroundings. What do you think of them architecturally? Learning to do the 3D designs. That is, then you have to take a gap year, give your 1 year totally to it, and then move ahead. Interiors, obviously, for interiors, you can do short courses and get into interior design. But remember, your design concept, your color concept has to be very good. That is something that you have to look into.
All right. We will take one last question, and this is from Arijit Sahu. He wants to hear from you the options that he has as far as computer science is concerned in foreign countries.
Oh God, too many options in computer science, because that is one of the biggest areas in now, whether it's computers in financial areas, which my son-in-law he's a computer guy, and he takes care of the entire company.
Recording in progress.
And he takes care of their entire setup of legal and general, where he everything is taken care of by him now. Basically, whether you do computer science, as I said, data analytics, data sciences, business analytics also involves a lot of computing, because through the entire information that comes into you, you decide on the health of the company and which is the department which is doing the best. As I told you, cybersecurity, ethical hacking, everything comes under computer sciences. So basically, if you do computer sciences, you can start with ethical hacking, you can start with cybersecurity, you can start with data sciences. It depends on what is it that you want. And let me tell you, there are certain universities overseas where if you study, then, it's like when we look at DePaul University or one or two universities overseas, when you do a course with them, then you do courses on cybersecurity and all, then what happens is the police department is already looking for you for them to take you over and put them in your departments. So what I'm trying to say is these are areas. And let me tell you that the need for UK for these and people in these areas studying these courses has far superseded the need for US and Canada and Singapore, because that market is growing so fast in UK. So what I'm trying to say is, please, there is a lot of requirement for students from computer sciences. So the courses are immense, and there are at least 20 areas that you can look at. So yes, please go ahead, because that is one of the areas which is the fastest growing area now. Okay.
Well, thank you. It was quite an immersive session, I must say. I'm certain our students have many learnings from this informative session. I would like to thank Madam Sunita Bose and her team for being so gracious to accept our invitation. I extend my gratitude to the technical team of DAB Public School, Pokriput, for supporting and promoting our venture. My heartfelt thanks to my colleagues for their continuous support. Many thanks to my esteemed principal for giving us a platform to engage, research, and reorient ourselves every day. You truly bring out the best in us. Last but not the least, our students. You are the best. And thank you for joining us this afternoon. I can see Madam Principal has joined us. Madam, final words from you.
Thank you so much, Madam Bose, for elaborately discussing, trying to clarify the doubts of my students. The students are having so many doubts. They are so confusing. It was difficult to answer all the queries in this limited time. However, time was very short. If possible, if out of your busy schedule, if you can spare some more time, then we might think of conducting another session.
Please.
And during that time, we might ask the children to be a little bit of focus and they can plan out their questions. And then I hope all the queries will be cleared. And at the end, all of them will go satisfied. So, ma'am, I hope you will try to agree with what I said. And if you can kindly take out some of your time. And Mayuk, please be in touch with ma'am. And if possible, please try to arrange when the students come to school offline from the month of February. Thank you, dear students.
Yes,
Thank you, dear students. On behalf of all of you, I express my sincere thanks to ma'am for wonderfully explaining and answering all your queries. And let us hope for the best. And let us hope that many more interactive sessions with ma'am will be having it during your tenure in this school. Thank you all. Thank you, Mayur.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Very nice students. I like the way they ask their questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much, one and all. A very good afternoon, everybody. Goodbye.